Did it really matter that the New York Yankees were not willing to give Juan Soto his own suite?
What are we talking about before I answer that? John Heyman for the New York Post delivering some very interesting details regarding the final stages of the Juan Soto pursuit involving Mets owner Steve Cohen, who spoke about this. And there were a few details that were particularly revealing, including the one that you just shared. Before I get to the suite, the main takeaway regarding Heyman's reporting here is that Steve Cohen, up until late Sunday or middle of Sunday, was still feeling like he's probably going back to the Yankees. There's him talking about, like, they're the Yankees, they have Aaron Judge, like, you know, I'm doing my best, I'm doing my thing. I mean, he has this quote in here, quote from Cohen, "I was being logical. When you have Judge, it's tough to beat that." And this, again, honesty from Cohen, I don't really know what his benefit would be lying about these feelings leading up to the end of it, even if he always knew he probably was going to give the highest offer. That it then comes down to some of these other details involving these offers. And the most interesting one, literally the most juicy one, is the idea or the detail here that, as we know, we mentioned it because we got it when we first talked about Soto, that the Yankees were willing to offer $760 million over 16 years. They were not willing to offer a suite. Now, what does a suite mean? This is a thing that you do hear in other contracts. This is not just the Yankees or Dodgers or whatever. Like, you do hear this sometimes, like big free agents. It's like, all right, cool. You just have a suite that you can just use whenever you want for all the home games. That's just yours. And there's this detail here that they didn't feel like they could give one to Juan Soto when Aaron Judge and even Derek Jeter before that paid for theirs. And here it says they were willing to discount a suite, but not after their precedent. So, and then it says Cohen didn't give the suite much of a thought. So he's like, yeah, sure, take one of our suites, whatever. My question to you is this about the money that you are not making by Juan Soto having his own suite, or is it about the precedent involving Aaron Judge and Derek Jeter?
Is it Yankeedom getting in the way? Like, the Yankees refused to offer the suite. It has nothing to do with money, right? It's because they didn't want to insult Judge or Jeter. And I get that. I get the idea that Juan Soto is not above those guys. But guess what? He is. Because you're going to give him a lot of money. More money. Double the money, right? Did it matter? Yeah.
I mean, it's in this story for a reason. I don't know if we are to take this as a part of Soto's perspective, then it feels like this isn't Steve Cohen saying, yeah, we got him because I offered him a suite. That is not what this says, right? The way this reads as this was something that was, again, I have a hard time believing that this was the number one thing, but you're trying to when you get to the numbers at this point, we're looking for other reasons, right? We're looking for other details. We're looking for other things that could have pushed Juan Soto in different directions because the Yankees were offering $760 million. We wouldn't be talking about
this. That's not disrespect.
Yeah.
It's hard to see it as disrespect because it's not as if they were just like, yeah, we'll give you $400 million and no suite. Like, it wasn't an insulting offer. I think it is such a perfect nugget, though, because you have to find a way to differentiate these two teams and look at why Juan picked one over the other. And I believe that it's mostly money, but there are some of these softer factors that seem to have been a non-zero level of import.
Yeah. And again, I mean, beyond that, we have some more reporting in here about, okay, the Blue Jays were also offering nearly $760 million. And, when the money went up by another 10 and 5 and whatever. But I think at the very least, I am compelled by the notion that Steve Cohen was not, because we all understood that, like, okay, he would not be denied. But him being like, yeah, obviously I was going to bid the most, but I didn't know if it was going to work. And the fact that it still felt like the Yankees were clearly in a strong position, then it does make you wonder, like, what were those small things at the end that tilted it? And maybe it was just the fact that they ended up offering him more, 51 a year instead of 47 a year. Like that's fine. That says a lot of money. That's good for Juan Soto. And if he wanted to make the mark and get it to the very top of the scale to set a place for future super duper stars hitting free agency at 26 to shoot for, then, God bless him. But, it's definitely a detail that is interesting. And I'm sure that we'll probably be getting some more in the coming weeks. And I think that's a good place to leave it. This is still not official yet. Yesterday, Carlos Mendoza was asked about this, and he had to pretend like he didn't know who Juan Soto was. That's very goofy. Those clips are funny. Again, that's just kind of how this works. I assume he will be taking his physical, and it'll be official at some point soon. Will we see him here in Dallas? I don't know. But I imagine there will be at least one more round once he does the press conference of questions and answers where we will learn a little bit more about how this went down.
I don't really have much else to say about Juan Soto. Just kidding. I have everything else to say about Juan Soto. We did an entire podcast about Juan the other day, and we did not say the name of the general manager of the New York Mets, David Stearns. And I think that as we get more reporting, that decision on our part or our failure to talk about David Stearns feels like a miss, because if other non-financial factors played a role, that has to do with Stearns, who's the president of baseball operations, selling the future of the team to Juan Soto and convincing him that they're going to be good. And with the way that Stearns carried himself in that room, seems to have pushed the needle a little bit in a positive direction for Soto. And so I just want to say, David Stearns, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I imagine there has to be some element of, okay, who do I know, Jeff Passan had a quote when he was first reacting to this that kind of made some waves, talking about how, like, if the offers were close, then the Mets, Juan Soto saw the future as brighter with the Mets than with the Yankees. Maybe that's a commentary on David Stearns. Maybe it's not. Ultimately, are we looking too deep into it? Who knows? But David Stearns, like, it is funny. Like, I am just laughing at the concept of David Stearns up there at the presser and asking David Stearns, David, what did you like about Juan Soto? What did you like about Juan Soto as a player? What made him an interesting target?
Why do you guys zero in on him as someone who you think could help your ball club?
Because I think this was announced, and I don't know if he's already spoken on it. I think he. I would love to know that answer for, like, why he thinks Clay Holmes can be a starter. That I would love to get that. That's fascinating. But I think it's hilarious to ask him the same question about explain why Juan Soto. What's so great about him?